Welcome back to Lights, Camera, Whatever. This is Teacher Ray here, and we're going to jump into the next film. It's called The Pig, the Snake, and the Pigeon. Remember, this film is on Netflix, and it does have English subtitles. Remember, it's called The Pig, the Snake, and the Pigeon. And just as crazy as the title sounds, is just as crazy as the movie is. Trust me. Now, let's jump into the description. Discovering that he is only the third most wanted fugitive in Taiwan, a criminal embarks on a journey to overtake the first two. So, from my personal perspective, this was a crazy movie, and I liked it a lot. So, let's jump into the questions. If you had the chance to be a gangster, would you? Absolutely not. For me, I wouldn't want to live that lifestyle. I don't want a target always on my back. I don't want to always be looking around to see like, okay, am I safe? Is this place safe? Are my friends safe? So for me, for the first question, I would say absolutely not, because being a gangster comes with a lot of responsibility that probably a lot of normal people like me and you listening out there to this show don't want to have. You got to protect your friends, your family, your assets at all times. There's a high probability that you will be threatened for any particular reason in your life. So for me, if I had a chance to be a gangster, I would have to decline the offer. And I know sometimes that you could be offered this opportunity from certain people or from in gangster groups or mafias or whatever, or crime families, and you do what you got to do. But for me personally, Teacher Ray, I'll stick to being a business English consultant in Asia, and I'm happy with my life. But to be a gangster comes with a lot of responsibility, weight, burden, and stress. So for me, if you had the chance to be a gangster, would you? My answer would be no. Now for the next question, if you were a gangster, what would be your street name? I thought this would be kind of something funny to talk about with the audience. So for me, if you say a street name, let me think about that. It would be something like the Screwdriver or the Nail or, Poison or something like that. I don't know. Just try to think of some silly name that would, cause fear into the eyes of so many people that would be my competitor, which would be other crime families or business families. So for me, if you ask what would be like a street name, definitely I don't know. I'm looking around, seeing what's around me right now. I would be cool to be called the Vase. I don't know, like a plant or something. I like plants. So it would be really cool to be called the Vase, or it would be called the Button or something. I would create some absolutely stupid name that people would laugh at, but people would fear at the same time. So if I ever were in some other reality, in some other multiverse, were a gangster, I would, I like that. I want to be called the Button. So basically, they don't press his buttons. So that would be my gangster street name. So for you out there listening to this show, share with us what you think your street name would be. It could be any name. It doesn't have to be cool. It could be silly. It could be stupid. But the point is to have fun. That's what street names are for. It's supposed to have fun and to be silly. But for gangsters, it might be a whole different category. It might just be to, as we always hear in the movies, to strike fear in the eyes of the hearts of the enemy, whatever, all that crazy nonsense. So leave your comments below on this question about what would be your street name. Next one. If you could be a cop or detective, what would be the main justice you would try to serve? I would automatically always say first, child trafficking. I personally think child trafficking is one of the most disgusting, sick things in this world. I mean, there's a lot of things that are done that's wrong in this world. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that are done absolutely that are just should never exist. But trafficking a child is just probably, to me, just personally, because I got my own kids, so just imagine someone trafficking your child. It's just absolutely insane. And the crazy thing is, a lot of people who are doing this type of business, who are in this business, or they are profiting from this business, actually have their own kids. That's the crazy part, right? They have their own kids. They have a family, and they're still doing this. Now, some people are really caught up in the business, and they don't know how they got into it, and it just happened. But I hope the guys, the women and the guys who are listening to this and hearing this episode are just thinking like, okay, what would I do to serve, for justice, and thinking what change would they make? And I respect whatever decision you would make. But for me, it would have to be child trafficking, because every time I look on CNN, BBC or whatever, and I see something about child trafficking, my attitude changes, my mood changes, my food doesn't taste the same. Everything is just different, right? Because I think that children are very, very innocent. And guys, I know there's a lot of things going wrong in the world. I absolutely understand that. But this is from my personal, this is Teacher Ray's perspective. The justice that I would serve would be to put anybody connected to a child trafficking ring, we call it a ring, or syndicate. These are some new words for the Taiwanese listeners. The syndicate or ring, and they should just go to jail for life, right? You should not exist on this earth. I mean, there is no benefit to the earth or humanity from child trafficking. I literally try to think of any benefit, I just get sick to my stomach. So if I were a cop or detective, child trafficking would be the main justice that I would try to serve. Next question. If you got your butt kicked, smashed, beaten, what fighting style would you try to learn? When I was growing up, I played a lot of video games with my friends. A lot of games. I wasn't a gamer. I just played a lot of video games. There is a difference. Because when I was younger, as soon as that sun came outside, I'm outside with my bike, with my friends, and whatever ball we were playing with, it's in our hand. That was my life, going outside to be outside. But when we did play like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and things like that, the one thing that I always liked that was, me being a fan of Brazilian culture, a lot of my friends would say, oh, Ray loves everything about Brazil. They have a fighting style in Brazil called the capoeira. I've always loved, it's like a fighting dance. It's crazy. It's like you're dancing, but kicking someone's butt. I mean, imagine being in a nightclub and dancing and just kicking someone's butt. Wouldn't that just be like the coolest thing on earth that you could do, to kick someone's butt while you're dancing? So if I got my butt kicked, and guys, whatever fighting style you have, there's nothing that can fight a bullet. Let's just kill that. But if there's a hand-to-hand combat, we're like in a back alley and some guy has disrespected one of my female friends, or definitely not my partner, because I would probably go crazy, I would capoeira him down to the ground. And the other style that I would say would be number 2 would be jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu. There's also different forms, but I always love Brazil. Sorry about that. I'm a huge fan of Ronaldo, number 9. Not the Cristiano Ronaldo. I will always be a number 9 Brazilian fan. And Ronaldinho. We're not going to sleep on him. Anyway, but Brazilian capoeira and jiu-jitsu, if I were to learn a fighting style, these would be the 2 exact styles that I would learn to go back to my enemy and say, hey, do you want to fight? Because, yeah, nobody wants to get their butt kicked. I mean, but if someone is just like twice your size, 3 times your size, maybe you can't beat them, but maybe you would just be a little bit happy just leaving a little bit of damage to them, not necessarily beating them down completely to the ground, but just literally causing some type of damage or some type of mark on their face where they can always remember. We can't beat everybody, guys. We'll never be better than every single competitor on this earth. So it came down to a fighting style, and I got my butt kicked. Capoeira or jiu-jitsu. Next question. Would you work for the CIA, FBI, or the Interpol? Me being American and growing up in America and knowing how much dirt and bad news the FBI and CIA have, I would have to say Interpol. And I'm not saying that Interpol has no dirty news. I am not saying that. But I don't have any connection to Interpol. I have no idea what they do. I just know they're based in Europe. And for me, I'm always interested in things that I didn't grow up with, right? We grew up our whole entire lives watching cartoons and movies and dramas connected to CIA and FBI, in addition to the history that I know about it. So for me, something new, something different, something more international, because when you're kind of dealing with FBI and CIA, it's kind of more American-based. I love the country, I love America, but it is a big world. So for me, I would be really, really excited to use my, skills, expertise, and intelligence at the Interpol. Because there's so many different cultures in Europe. People don't understand that. In America, we just have America, right? It is a melting pot inside, but look at the proximity of these European countries. Like you got England, Germany, Spain, Portugal, right? Down, going a little bit to the right side, you go down to like Montenegro and Serbia, and these countries here, all the way over to Russia. And these are all just different people, right? Honestly speaking, they're different backgrounds and things like that. So I would be more interested to joined the Interpol over the CIA and the FBI. That's just my personal preference. If I were to work for any of these agencies or any type of law enforcement agency, it would be Interpol. So for me, what would you guys work for? So you guys are listening, please leave your comments. We want to know what you guys are thinking, not just listening to the podcast, but we do thank you greatly for being a subscriber to the podcast. We are very grateful for that, but we also will be more grateful and more appreciated if you left your comments. Trust me, even one comment, we would be so happy. Now, next question. If your family member was wanted for a serious crime, would you help them or hide or turn them in? For me, it depends on the severity of the crime. If my cousin or my uncle has, domestically abused some woman, or this is a male cousin. I don't think the females would do it. But if this is a male cousin that did something where he hurt some woman or did something, I said, hey, you just go to jail. That was stupid. But if there was like a car accident, right? And they did something and someone was seriously hurt or maybe fatally hurt, I would not hide them. I would do my best to, get all the money that I can, because I do have kids. I can't give all my money away for anything, to help them find the best lawyer. Hide them? No, I don't want to be accomplice to murder. Accomplice means, for the Taiwanese leader, that means that you are helping a person with a murder, or when you're helping hide them, you're actually helping them do the murder and get away. So you will always be in trouble in any shape or form if you're helping them. So for me, based on the severity of the situation, I would say I wouldn't necessarily hide them. I would try to help them find the best lawyer. But if they actually did something and it was just like a huge mistake and it was like some crazy accident that happened and people ended up getting hurt, and then I would try to, I'm gonna be honest, it's your blood. I would try to hide them, because I know that they, in their heart, didn't do anything wrong. But accidents happen, incidents happen, right? So in my mindset, I would say I would try to hide them if they were really chased by Interpol and they were in my city, Atlanta, Georgia. And just, there was a huge manhunt for them. I would do my best. Anyway, Atlanta has a lot of woods, and Georgia, the state, has a lot of woods and nature, so they probably can find somewhere to hide. They probably don't even need me. But if they're a serious crime, I would have to kind of evaluate the severity of what they did. I would have to look them in their eye and say, what did you do? I will do my best to help you. But if it's like some small thing and they go to jail for like a couple of weeks or whatever, then whatever, just enjoy your time inside. So that's it. If your family member was wanted for a serious crime, what would you do? Now for the next one, this is, and I'm doing my best not to talk about contents from the actual movie. And remember, it's called The Pig, Snake, and the Pigeon. I know you're looking like, what in the world is that? It's called The Pig, Snake, and the Pigeon. It does have English subtitles. So if you're a foreigner out there watching this and you want to know about the pig, even every time I say The Pig, Snake, and the Pigeon, and that leading actor in this, he did great. I'm gonna be honest with you. This was a high intense movie. For me, I would watch it twice, just on a nice Sunday afternoon, get my fruit bowl ready. I would watch it twice, I'm sure. Now the next one says, are you afraid of death or afraid of being forgotten after death? I am definitely going to have to say B. I'm working really hard in my life to leave a name in history. Because it's crazy how we remember these guys from 1,000 years ago. We're having lessons about it. We're, having arts and craft classes about it. We're talking about it. Their names are on the streets. I definitely want that. I'm not necessarily too afraid of death. I don't want to be forgotten, right? What's the point of going through this life of 90 to 100 years and nobody remembers you? I mean, that is absolute madness. So that means in 100 years, right, which is 365 times 100. I'm not doing the math. I'm sorry. Think about that. And nobody remembers who you are. That is madness. That means you have made zero impact on this earth. Now, at my company, RBC English, I'm really trying to help these people with their career and get them into the right direction. Seriously. That's when I hate when people say, oh, he's an English teacher. I am not an English teacher. I am a consultant. So I always tell people no, I don't teach English. I'm training people how to get themselves in the right direction. that will help them, their lives and their loved ones, right? And for me, that's leaving an impact. Like, I've helped multiple students get to Ivy League schools from Taiwan, and they didn't have the best English, right? And it's not really about the essay or anything. It's just about that they came to me, I had the service, and I helped them. That is my impact. This is what I want to leave behind. And I hope to do it for many, many more years. But I'm afraid also of myself. I'm afraid myself of being forgotten. That when you go away, you're just a memory, right? There's nothing, you don't leave anything behind. I don't want to be like the richest person in the world, but I want to have like the ability to leave an impact on the world that 100 years later, like people say, oh, you know what Teacher Ray did, like in Taiwan, in Asia, or in his hometown, Atlanta. That's the stuff that I want to be remembered for. So if you say afraid of death, afraid of being forgotten after death, it would definitely be B, right? So for me, I want to leave an impact. If you have nothing to lose, how far would you go to make an impact on the world? For me, I thought about this very deeply. If I had money, like Jeff Bezos' ex-wife, I would definitely, I thought about this. When I wrote down this question, I already knew. I would spend all my resources to create a drone delivery services of medical resources to third world countries. Because I know there's so many people out there that need these medical resources, medical equipment, and just medicine. But they're probably in some remote village somewhere that they can't have any access to it. And so their probability of longevity is very low, right? Longevity for Taiwanese listeners means long life. So the probability for longevity will be very, very low. But if they have some way to have instant accessibility to medical resources, I'm talking about basic things, guys, like, pills and medicines that we go down to Walgreens, or in Taiwan, we have a lot of pharmacies here, but in the States, we got like Walgreens, and we got all these pharmacies. I don't know if Eckers is still there. I've been here since 2009. So there's so many pharmacies that we have accessibility to that for us, we take for granted, right? But when you're talking about these countries that have these people that live up in the mountains or down the river, like the only way to get here is by like through river. Imagine that, like you had to get to work by river, right? So I would have a drone delivery service to because sometimes people just might need a needle of insulin, right? But they got to travel like 100 miles for that, right? So I think that a drone delivery service is just for the specificity of delivering medicine, tailored just for delivering medicine to those in need. That would be my impact. If I had nothing to lose on this earth, I would definitely do that. Now, the next one says, would you be friends with the gangster? Now, in Atlanta, I don't know about in Taiwan, but in Atlanta and a lot of places around the States, the high school that you go to is going to be so diverse, it's absurd if it's a public school. So your classmates, you have a high probability to be in a classroom with a mafia or gangster, or someone from a mafia or gangster group or family. Very easy. I had a lot of friends who were gangsters in my high school. I had a lot of friends. We always played sports together. We always did a lot of things together that I can't say too much on the show. Ha ha ha. But I never took those rides with them when they were going to have some mission or to go visit some people that they had beef with. I mean, beef means hostility that could lead to a fight or a death, right? I never took those rides. I stuck with them only in the parks and in class, or if we played on the same local basketball team. That was it, because I know how dangerous their life is. I had plenty of friends who were gangsters. I just didn't, hang out with them further than being a friend, because they knew. Now, a lot of my friends, I started consulting since I was in middle school. A lot of my friends, even in middle school, were coming to me for advice and things like that. I just had a good head on my shoulders, so people came to me all the time for that. So would you be friends with a gangster? Absolutely yes. But would I go further than that? No. I don't want to be involved. I don't want to walk around with a target on my back. Absolutely not. Now, if you were born into a crime or mafia family, would you continue the family business or take a different path? Now, there's a lot of people born into mafia or crime families. That is a known fact. There is nothing to hide about it. But for me, if I was born into a crime or mafia family, I would take all of the resources as soon as I can to turn the illegitimate business into a legitimate business, which could be finance, which could be private equity, which could be stocks or real estate. I would do my best to get out of that business. I would literally sell my business to someone else who wants to be the big boss or big shot and take the legal way, because illegal ways don't last long. Now, there's a lot of countries right now, a lot of governments right now who did a lot of illegal things to become what they are right now. And they are the main government. They've created a constitution for that particular country, whatever. Congratulations, you made it. But for me, if I was born into something, I would do my best to get out of that and to make something legit, not illegit, because illegitimate businesses don't last long. And you'll always be walking around with a target on your back from some enemy. I think finance, private equity, real estate is the best business that you can get into, or international trade. So I would take those resources and I would move on to do something else. So if I was born into a crime family or a mafia family, and, you know, like I was born into it, like this is what I am, I would definitely do my best when I have the chance to be the big boss, or the Lao Da, that means the big one in Chinese. I would definitely take that to take it from an illegitimate service to be a legitimate service or a legitimate empire, where I don't have to be, you know, invaded by the FBI, Interpol every 3 quarters because, you know, some tax or something is hidden or somebody went missing or something like that. So for me, definitely I would not do that. So I would take the illegitimate business into a legitimate business. So that is it for part 1. I'm going to go through the questions again. This is the pig, snake, and the pigeon. Question 1. If you had the chance to be a gangster, would you? No, for me. If you were a gangster, what would be your street name? My name would be the Vase or something like that, Poison. And please let us know your comments. If you could be a cop or detective, what would be the main justice you would try to serve? As I mentioned, child trafficking is disgusting. If you got your butt kicked, what fighting style would you try to learn? Capoeira, or it would be jiu-jitsu for me. Please leave your comments below. I want to know yours. Would you work for the CIA, FBI, or Interpol? Mine would be Interpol. If your family member was wanted for a serious crime, would you help them hide or turn them in? I would probably have to help them the best way I can, depending on the severity. Are you afraid of death or afraid of being forgotten after death? I am afraid of being forgotten. If you have nothing to lose, how far would you go to make an impact on the world? Definitely, like I mentioned, drone services to deliver medical supplies to third world people. It says here, would you be friends with a gangster? Yes, I could. No problem. To a certain extent. If you were born into a family, a crime, a mafia family, would you continue the family business or take a different path? I would take an illegitimate business to turn into a legitimate business. And that is part 1 for the pig, snake, and the pigeon. So make sure you jump into part 2 in the next episode. Thank you guys for listening so much. Please leave your comments below. Teacher Ray is out.